In 2020, the world of poker was talking about one thing and one thing only.
The casinos were closed and tournaments were canceled.
Daniel Negreanu and Doug Polk's heads-up challenge dominated the headlines.
The roots of the rivalry between these two date back all the way to 2014.
Daniel claimed that he could beat the PokerStars $25, $50 cash games with a couple of weeks of practice.
This was despite the fact that he had limited experience playing high-stakes cash games online.
And of course, that kind of made all the online grinders really roll their eyes. They perceived it as pretty disrespectful and honestly kind of laughable.
Notably, Doug Polk, who called Daniel naive.
This is Doug Polk, who many would consider among the best online cash game players in the world.
Comparing Doug and Daniel is like comparing apples and bricks.
I think it's fairly obvious that Negreanu is better than Doug Polk at poker, but Polk is better than Negreanu probably at no limit hold'em.
Fast forward to 2016, things really started to get heated.
Negreanu was sponsored by PokerStars, and the site decided to increase its rake and remove some benefits for high rollers.
The poker community was understandably unhappy, but Negreanu defended his employer's decision.
So he tried to explain that higher rake means fewer pros in the game.
Though he may never have used these exact words, Negreanu's position became summarized in the public imagination as more rake is better.
And a monster was born.
The argument just pretty much blew up after that. Polk really ramped up his criticism of Negreanu.
And suggesting that he was effectively a stooge for PokerStars. I think Daniel does have a point in that at the time, PokerStars was heavily catering to very experienced pros, maybe at the expense of some of their more casual players.
I think that he was just doing what he felt like he had to do, to earn his paycheck, to be honest.
Anyway, Daniel and Doug continued to take shots at each other until the 2018 WSOP.
That's when Doug kind of took it up another notch, rented a billboard outside the Rio with the words, "More rake is better" on it.
At the same time, he also began wearing t-shirts featuring the slogan.
Including while sitting live at the tables next to Daniel. He played next to him in one of the Aria super high rollers, and he wore the shirt, made a big show of it. It didn't end up going so well for him because Daniel ended up taking most of his chips.
The whole thing was reaching a boiling point.
Or whatever the Twitter equivalent of a boiling point is.
In 2019, Doug challenged Daniel to an online heads-up match.
Surprisingly, at least to me, Daniel accepted, and it pretty much was on after that.
With this much water under the bridge, it unsurprisingly took a long time to agree on terms.
After much negotiation, the two agreed to play 25,000 hands of no limit hold'em. The stakes would be 200, 400.
They did put in a provision: if anyone was losing after half the hands, 12,500 hands, they could call it quits.
I will admit this ice-cold take that I thought people were not giving Daniel enough credit and that he would be able to hold his own.
After intense training and preparation, the challenge began on November 4th, 2020.
With the first 200 hands being played live and streamed on PokerGo.
But after some early swings, Doug Polk had a pretty big lead. After about 6,000 hands, he was up 600,000.
And he never let it go.
There were a few bumps in the road, a few controversies along the way, but they ended up finishing all 25,000 hands on February 3rd.
At that point, Doug was up a cool $1.2 million.
Amazingly, the challenge seemed to go a long way to repair the relationship between the two.
All the battles, all the hours, they did kind of form a mutual respect.
Each also made a guest appearance on the other's social media channel.
I guess $1 million swing just makes people become friends.
I think at a time when poker was desperate for some sort of action, the feud between Doug and Daniel was perfect timing.
I think if it changed anything, it would just give people more respect for how strong the best strategies are.
What the challenge taught us is that you don't need ESPN to be a poker star anymore. Thanks to social media and online streaming, you can take your personal brand, challenge it up against someone else's, and your powers combine to make for really compelling poker content.